This on Facebook or YouTube or both? It's live. We're muted though.
Hold on. Okay, we're all live everywhere, I think now. Welcome everyone. We're trying to get everything set up. Hopefully all of you are having a great Monday. And 2024 is off to a rocking start.
Not rocky.
Rocking start.
If you feel like it, no.
We'll do it after.
Oh, right. So we're not gonna show videos to say hello because we're now recording and we're live. But at the end, after we stop streaming everywhere, we'll give you a chance to say goodbye. But you can say hello in the chat if you'd like. Just let us know you're here. We're not going to be using names because we are streaming in more than one place. So keep your privacy.
All right, let's start recording.
Let's do it.
Okay, we're going to be clicking all over today, making things happen. See, I need a fourth screen, I told you. I need another screen.
There's three. There's a 1 and a 2 and a 3.
I should have another screen there and there.
Let's do 6, like 3 and then 3 on top.
All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to Monday Musings. Yes, getting used to new formats. Yes, we are. We're trying. We're gonna need a team just to click buttons. Anyways, welcome to Monday Musings. My name's Faizan Sabzali. I'm a life and relationship coach at Dragonfly Wellness. We're excited to host another Monday Musings. You are?
I'm Dr. Syra, and I'm a registered clinical counselor and a Canadian clinical supervisor. And Faizan and I have co-founded Dragonfly Wellness and Dragonfly Academy, and this is Monday Musings, and we've been doing Monday Musings now for 3 years.
Yeah.
It started.
No, two.
Somebody out there knows, I'm sure. A while, more than at least 2 years, if not longer.
Yeah.
And the format is a little bit different. So, for those who've been coming for a while, you know. It's the same that we usually do, but you might have noticed this week in the newsletter that Ask Dr. Syra didn't come out. So I've had this YouTube show called Ask Dr. Syra where people ask me questions. People have been writing in, or they'll ask in a session and ask me to make a video about it. And then I've been replying to people's questions and kind of grouping them together by the topics of the month. And so this month we didn't actually have enough questions. And so I started thinking about that and decided to take a turn and revive Therapist Thursdays. And so the difference between Ask Dr. Syra and Therapist Thursdays is instead of answering a question asked specifically by a client or a viewer, I'm teaching concepts. So it's a little bit more educational and a little less about like my own personal story, though I love giving examples of our story as well. It's a deeper opportunity for learning. And what we found is, I'm teaching a lot of these concepts in individual sessions with clients as a therapist, or in group workshops and things like that. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to have like a repository of this knowledge? And what's been happening, so a couple of things, really significant things have happened for me over the last few days, where mentors of mine are they've shown up again. So people who I've met years and years ago and who kind of put me on this path have shown up and given me their blessings. And one of the people is actually passing away kind of at the end of his life, and gave me his blessings to kind of move forward with all that he's taught me. And then another mentor actually has turned to me for mentorship. So it's just a really neat time where I feel like I'm getting the blessings of all my kind of academic elders to dive in a little bit more in the teaching part of things. So someone's saying, I love that you include your personal story as it makes it relatable. And the video this week was equally as impactful.
Yeah,
That's great to hear.
And what couple things, right? Like one of the things about these videos is that you might have heard us talk about this concept in previous videos or seminars or webinars or even on Monday Musings. But even for us, like when we revisit it, like we catch something that's different, right? Like, so we were, as Sarah was making the video this time, because we're now, doing a little bit more.
Faizan's doing more helping, and it's great. You can see the high tech coming in. Faizan's
so I mean, even if we're trying to put some of the slides together and whatnot, we were doing a little bit of more research into the triangle, right? So today we're going to talk about this relationship triangle. If you, again, the link to the channel is listed in the banner below. If you want to, please subscribe so you can watch these videos, and we're going to put more and more out. What I found interesting was that we're actually relearning the triangle a little bit deeper, right? Like we actually pulled out the original document, and we're like, wait, we talk about control at the top, like there's something else, and there's something in between judgment and heartbreak, like that we had forgotten about, right? And we're like, oh, that's interesting that sits between,
and the complexity, right?
And the complexity of it.
What we tried to do is take something super complex and simplify it. And then now we're remembering the complexity, and so hopefully we can share some of that with you as well.
So what we wanted to do today, again, the video is about 20 minutes long. Sarah goes kind of into the relationship triangle, which we'll share here as well. And so, but she goes a little bit deeper, right? What I wanted to do today was focus on a couple of the areas on the triangle where I feel like the couples that are coming to see us, the clients, or couples that we've worked in the past, or a couple, just kind of taking our own path, where I feel like people get stuck, where people lose either sense of responsibility, that like, no, I don't see myself there. Like people are like, no, I'm not.
That's not me.
Yeah, that's not me. I don't know what you're talking about, right? Like, or people don't want to sometimes acknowledge that they might be in a certain area. So whichever it might be, but I wanted to kind of go a little bit deeper to see how we can move forward, right? Because it's one thing to kind of have this knowledge. Again, last week we talked about, again, we want to take this knowledge and make it help you implement it in your lives. It's great to have knowledge, right? Like I talk about in my own personal experience. For the first, 10 years of our marriage, I collected a lot of theories. I collected a lot of theories, and I thought I knew what I was talking about until I was going to say shit hit the fan, so I'm going to say it. But, right, like it like everything, like, okay, now are you ready to actually implement it? Are you ready to live these theories, or are you just going to talk about it? And when I had to live it, I'm like, there's a little darkness in me that I didn't want to look at. There's a little bit of ego, a little bit of just a little bit. I don't have that much ego. So I think for me, that was more impactful. Was like, okay,
like actually living it.
Yeah,
and just talking about it.
And I had to like throw a lot of theories out that I've forgotten about. Not that they're not important, because it's like I can't do it all.
Right. Like you have to pick one or two things and go deep.
And
that's the thing, is that sometimes for those of us on the personal growth journey, it's we can become like collectors of great information. And one thing that we'll kind of encourage is that if you find something that speaks to you, take some time and go deeper into it, right? So that you get kind of a deeper knowledge, because otherwise it's a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and this is interesting and that's interesting, but we end up staying on the surface when we do it that way. And so taking a deeper dive can be really transformational, right? It's not just about the feel good feeling, it's actually about making change.
And it's okay to learn all the theories, but you gotta, if you're gonna live something, you gotta find something that we're talking about, like the Sedona method and this, and like, okay, Which one are we doing? Even for the meditation, which one are we going to do?
Right.
Let's just do it.
Pick one. Yeah.
Pick one. We're just doing it. We're going to, oh yeah, I want to go do this. No, we're going to go to the gym, go do this.
Yeah, one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go do it. At least live it, right? Like build that practice.
So I'm just going to read a couple of comments. So for those joining us on Zoom, we love the chat. So tell us your thoughts, your responses in the chat, ask questions in the chat, and we'll respond there. For those visiting us or joining in after or coming on YouTube or Facebook,
we'll try to look for comments, but
we might miss it live. So we'll look at it after and respond kind of after the fact. But for the live interaction, it'll be those on Zoom. Yeah. If you want to get on Zoom for a future call, you simply have to go to our website, dragonflywellness.ca, and look for free courses, and you'll see Monday Musings. Once you get in there, you can register for the link, and it's the same link every week. So if you want to get in where you're actually able to talk and interact with us, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read some of the comments here. So someone's saying, awesome, new year, new formats, opening to new energies. Someone else said, I shared the video from last week's Monday Musing with a friend and they found it insightful.
Great.
Someone saying, I think as you progress in your journey, you take away something different with a different perspective. Yeah, because we're seeing it at a different, with a different lens, right? And with different life experiences. So, for example, going through a significant loss colored the way I saw growth and relationships and what I put value on. And
right.
But before that loss, I was kind of more like, it's all fine. But then when I lost my stepdad, it was like, whoa, like that recalibrated my entire life.
Every loss is different, right? Because you had lost other people before.
Yeah, but that particular loss just like kicked my ass.
And each loss does that, right? So again, and I think you look at it at a different layer. You look at it at deeper, right? Like, oh, I thought I had addressed my egoic needs. Yeah, you had.
Isn't that like a lifelong
thing? It's like it's something else comes up that's like, no, wait, you need to address this as well, right? Yeah. And that's okay. I think the beauty is that we get to learn about ourselves more and more and on a deeper level.
And sometimes people can be like, I've been learning this for, like, how much longer do I need to, I've been doing this work for this many years. And that's true. And if you find yourself like at the same spot, then there's a problem. That means that you might be doing what Faizan did, which is collecting ideas but not really implementing them. Right. So if you keep finding yourself hitting the same thing and you don't see progress, then it's time to kind of do a bit of an evaluation. Okay, what am I, where could I maybe go a little bit deeper here?
Yeah. One of the things, I was at the surface level.
Why would somebody do that? Like, what's the incentive to stay at the surface, do you think? Anybody?
At the surface?
Ideas?
Oh, yeah.
Right in the chat? Why would people feel more comfortable staying at the surface? Why did you for those years?
Yeah,
someone's saying it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. It's the unknown. And I didn't think I needed that much help.
Can you say more about that? Oh, look, you have to feel your feelings.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that too, but it's like...
What do you mean you didn't think?
I thought
that you were solved?
Yeah, well, I thought everybody else had a problem.
Ah, okay. So that person that we tell people not to be, you were that person.
I was the enlightened being.
Nobody here can relate, right? Yeah, sometimes we think like, oh, poor thing, they're suffering because they don't have the
they don't have
the blank. They don't have the
they don't have the right mindset.
They don't have the right mindset. They don't have the spiritual tradition that I have. They don't have the workout routine that I have, or they don't have the meditation practice that I have. And if they only had that, they'd be fine. How many times have I heard that, right? Well-meaning advice, people with well-meaning advice saying, just do this one thing and you'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And that's what we absolutely don't want to do in Monday Musings or in any of the work that we do at Dragonfly, to say, just do this thing and you'll be fine. It's more like, here's some ideas, test them out. Some will work for you and some will obviously really not work for you. And that's okay. We're all different. We were watching this...
There's only one Faizan and one Syra. And thank God, we don't need more.
Everybody digests those carrots a little bit differently. Yeah. We're all eating carrots, but what each of our body is doing with that carrots is a little bit different, right? Based on how much sleep we've had and our taste buds and our relationship to carrots, and do we have a history with carrots, and right? So we're all getting the same food, but how we digest it and how our body uses it is going to be a little bit different for each one of us. Carrots are good for all of us. However, we're all going to digest them differently.
Yeah.
Someone said, not ready to face the raw honesty. Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to go. It's difficult to do the easy thing sometimes.
What does that mean?
And like, so the easy thing would be to shut out the world and say, okay, what is it that I need? We've heard this spiritual concept, right? Is that
it begins with me?
Yeah, it begins with me. It's a man in the mirror, right? Like that concept of that if I can heal myself, the world will heal. Right? The world's healing. It's easy to say, but it's difficult to do only because I need to actually not just deal with the look at my feelings, feel the feelings, face my all of the raw emotions and the raw darkness possibly that I might have to face, but also to show that to the world. Right? It's easy to look that we're doing really well. Right? Like it's easy, I think sometimes,
it's common.
It's common, and it's.
I think that takes effort too.
It takes a lot of effort. Sorry, it's not easy. So it's more in fashion to post the great things that are happening on Instagram.
Yeah, or Facebook or wherever.
Right, like this morning, I wanted to post like, oh yeah, look at us, we're going to the gym in the dark at 4 a.m. Right, like look at us, we're doing it, like just rah rah. And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, rah rah. Half of me wants to go back to bed. Am I gonna say that?
And I was literally sleeping in the passenger seat, sleeping on the way to the gym.
But that's the thing, right? Am I
tired?
Am I gonna actually say that in the video? No, because I want to put out the best face. I want to motivate you while I'm not motivated, right? And to be to honestly say these things outside to my family, to our it's not in fashion. It's not the world is not set up to take that authenticity.
But it's neat that we have these little circles.
Exactly,
right? We're building these little circles, like in Monday Musings, in Chai and Chat, at the Wellness Center, in our meditation group, where people can have really authentic conversations, and it gives everybody room to breathe, because that means nobody has to be perfect.
We're not perfect.
Nobody has to be like have it all figured out. We just.
Are you perfect?
No.
I'm getting close. I think
not even a little bit.
I'm getting close.
So someone's asking, how did you know you were only doing the work at a surface level? What was your aha moment?
Everything around me was falling apart.
You thought you were fine.
I was doing all the right things, and you were falling apart. Our son was falling apart. Our finances were falling apart.
Yeah.
Work was falling apart, and I'm here doing the right thing. I'm pushing through, and it's like, oh, something is definitely not right. If everything around me, I think I'm doing okay, but everything around me is telling me it's not okay. And I think sometimes it's like the people in our lives have to show us that they're not well, for us to look at we're not well.
Can you see more?
Right? So that? If my son having the same anxieties that I had when I was 8, and I'm like, damn it, that's not.
It's not what I want for you. I did everything so that you wouldn't experience this.
Right? The same anxieties.
Totally different context.
Supposedly less trauma. Yet he was facing it. I couldn't help you in your deep depression. Right? Like many a days I've talked to you about this, is that many days I would go not knowing if you were going to be there when I came back home. I go to work, worried. I'm like, okay, I gotta get to work. Gotta still pay the mortgage. Coming home, not sure you're gonna be around, right? Like, so it's like, so, and I couldn't help you in that. Like, I had zero ability to help, and so all of that.
But yet you were fine.
Our finances were fine.
Though.
Oh, I was fine, right? Like, it's like if Syra only did this, if our son did that, and everybody did this in their lives.
So let's maybe flip to the relationship. A couple more comments before we flip. Somebody saying, I appreciate your authenticity. Someone else saying, your authenticity is a breath of fresh air. Thank you for your vulnerability, Faizan. Thanks, Faizan, for very thoughtful words that I'm hearing. It helps to look back and see if there's hope.
Yeah, there is definitely hope. And I think one thing, if I've learned anything, is that there is hope. We just have to reach out. There's lots of help out there. We have to reach out and know that we have the capacity to feel, to survive this darkness. And I think that's the piece that I learned, is that there are people in my life that I can't share this part of myself with, for whatever reason. And that's okay. But I know I have people in my life that I can share this part of me, and it'll be okay.
Including here, right?
Including here, absolutely, including here. I just met with somebody today. We just had this kind of deep, heart-to-heart conversations. Like, it's like, we got you, right? Got you. And I think we just have to find that tribe. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us struggle because it's like we hope this other person. You hope for many years that it was going to be me, for you, mm-hmm. right? Like, it's okay if I'm not the one, right? Like, let's find somebody. And so,
someone's saying, thank you for that share. Everyone around me was not okay. Whoa. You know, another thing, I was reading in one of my notes that I had taken about how when you, I don't know, it was said in a really cool way. Something about how when you start changing the way you look at things, the things that you're looking at change. Something like that.
Okay.
And so what I've found is, as I've changed, there have been times when the people around me have gotten much, much, much worse in their life stories and their the intensity of their lives. And yet my responses to them is like, I can see the beauty in their journey. I can see that it is a journey. So it's not like, oh, I'm fine and everybody else is falling apart. It's like everyone's there's things falling apart, and I don't necessarily see it as a tragedy. It's like, there's something internally that's
and there's a judgment in me that something is wrong with them.
That's it.
That whatever they're doing they're doing it wrong. They might be doing it right. I have no idea what's going on for them. They might be enjoying the life it is, as it is, right? Like, who am I to say you're doing it wrong?
So part of it, so to that person's point, right? They're saying that's from Wayne Dyer. Yeah, that's right. So it could be possible that the people around you continue to not be okay, but your interface with that will feel different, right? That you're not as either in denial about it, like, I'm fine, right? Or totally immersed in it, like, how can I help them? What can I do? How can I fix this? You're just not in that place anymore.
Right.
Somehow.
Right.
Okay, let's go to
triangle.
The triangle. This is a great segue here. So you may have seen this image by now if you watched the video. And if you haven't, take some time and go to the YouTube channel, Dragonfly Wellness TV, and you can find it there. And it's called something like "This Thing Saved My Marriage" or something like that, right?
We gotta play the algorithm game. You gotta make it enticing for people to click on.
It did, though. It really did. So let's tell you a little bit about. So what Faizan and I are talking about right now is kind of around judgment and control, right? So judgment is where it's like, well, should we just start from the beginning, maybe?
Yeah, let's just quickly go through it.
Yeah.
And I like I said, I have a couple of areas where I think I want to focus on.
Okay.
And so like But yeah, let's just kind of jump through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 3 sides to this triangle, and then a kind of an internal part of the triangle. So on the left is dependence, on the right independence, and on the bottom interdependence. Now this is a model that was developed by Dr. Chuck Spezzano of the Psychology of Vision, and like I see in the video, it's much more complex than this, like way more. We've just simplified it, and some of the words that we pulled out, we kind of pulled out the ones that most people can understand, but Chuck might have said it a little bit of a different way, so we'll tell you a little bit about that today. And so it's both a developmental model, so the process that we go through in our own life cycle, and also a relational model, so how relationships between people form. And he uses this in particular around romantic relationships, though it can happen with any sort of interpersonal relationship. So do you want to talk about
I actually taught this at work.
Did you?
I remember teaching this
When did you do that?
like in one of my to one of my teams. We took one of our team meetings and I went through this because they were like I had again, after doing some work, I just started being honest about the things I was doing outside, right? Like they were interested in when I went to my the men's retreats and all of those things, and in one of the sessions I brought this up because I remember there was a struggle between two team members. Like they were just going at it, right? And I actually talked about this as a relationship within the work environment, and how, right, like when we start work, we start in the needs. Like I need to know, I need help, I need the forms filled, which forms I should be filling, what accounts I need to access, like what files I need to access, whatever, right? Like whatever.
Passwords.
Yeah, like what passwords I need to know. How do I get my email? Like we're just in a need, and then we find out that the job that we signed up for doesn't actually line up. And it's like, oh.
Then we move to hard.
It's like, oh, I thought I was signing up for this, and they're not ready for this. And it's like, oh, then we have judgments of like how people are, how the leaders are doing, all of those things. I kind of went around it, and I said, right, like, listen, guys, if we want to move forward as a team, right, if we all want to step into leadership at work, we got to move past these fights. We got
not fly over.
No, not fly over.
Not spiritual bypass and say we're all fine, we're all friends. No, actually do the hard emotional work to get through these different stages.
So like the power struggle that's real at work, it's like, why, right? Like a lot of it is because there's this control that if I don't do it, nobody else is going to do it right.
Right, and I'm the only one. My way.
Yeah, and I'm the only one. And I talked about how in my own work journey, I've lived that. Right, and I've worked till like 2, 3, 4 in the morning just writing documents that somebody else should have written. And and I'm not like writing it over. I'm rewriting it because they wrote it. I'm like, what is this crap? Let me, right? And it's like because nobody else can do it right, and I'm literally just punishing myself at that point. And we talked about this. So yeah, it's from a relationship perspective. Yes, we use it for romantic relationships, but this applies in every interpersonal relationship, really. But yeah, let's walk through kind of quickly the dependent side.
Can you do it? Since I did it in the video, I want to hear how you explain it. Who else wants to hear Faison? Thumbs up? Any thumbs ups?
So this is how I would explain it. This side, dependent side, is Syra. The independent side is Faison. And this is where we're trying to get to.
Okay, you got to unpack that a little bit more. Start at the bottom.
Oh, wait. A lot of inside information there. No. So, no, I think from...
Anxious and avoidant, actually.
Yes.
Remember last week or the week before we talked about anxious and avoidant attachment styles? A couple weeks ago. So, anxious attached people tend to live more on the dependent side. Right. Okay. Avoidant attachment people tend to live more on the independent side.
Yeah.
So when he says siren, it's kind of like that.
Yeah. So what happens again? This is more of also a human development. You go through this in the video. Is that as when we're born with needs. We're little. We are dependent on other people for survival. right? And those needs are either met or not met. And based on those decisions, based on a need being met or not, we make it mean something about us. We make it mean something about the world, right? And there is always going to be, at least from my experience and maybe my knowledge, I don't think any parent will be able to meet every need of a child all the time, right? So some need will go unmet for whatever reason, whether there's another child involved, there's life situations happening, whatever.
You have to answer the phone while the baby's crying. So many things, right?
Life will happen, so some need will go unmet. And part of that, what happens at a certain point is that as those pile up, we make it mean like, oh, this other person is really, again, as a child, this other person was not going to meet my needs. And it was going to be they're just always going to break my heart. Right? And then that's where the hurt and the heartbreak comes in. Now, what happens is a lot of us could either kind of live wanting our needs to be met all the time, right? Like I'm gonna get in a relationship. You're gonna fulfill this need for me, or needy, clingy, yeah. Or we live in our heartbreak, right? Like we know people who just have kind of this victim story sometimes, right? Like it's like the world is always doing something wrong to me.
It's the Eeyore syndrome. For me.
And part of it is that we keep on reliving the heartbreak, but also look for opportunities to say, see, there's another example where somebody just broke my heart. Right? Oh, you see, the United Nations didn't feed this person. See, this world is screwed. Oh, you see, my wife didn't answer my phone. See, she doesn't care about me. Right? Like we're looking for these signs, and we live in the heartbreak. We have these stories of victimhood, of needs or of victimhood. Now, at a certain point in our human development, we move into what this place is called, okay, I got to take control, but before that, I got to decide what's right or what's wrong. And while we're doing that, what's right or what's wrong, it's like I make those quick decisions like, this person is wrong, how they do it is wrong, I do it right, they're wrong, right? Like we quickly make these decisions. Now, developmentally, this kind of happening around the age of 10, 11. At that point, we don't have the maturity yet. A lot of us, if we think about it, if we're in this judgment zone, we're actually acting like a 10-year-old making these decisions.
Black and white thinking.
Black and white, right? Like
no nuance, not able to be in the
like I was talking to somebody today, it's like, oh yeah, like we're talking about addiction, and it's like, oh yeah, if they could have done this right. It's like a lot of people say that. It's like, but it's a very black and white. Like they did all of the things right, and yet they still got into addiction. So then what happened, right? What about that story? But it's like it's right or wrong. There's no kind of nuance. There's nothing. But it gives us power. It gives us an opportunity. Yeah. Well, it gives us an opportunity to get out of that story that somebody is doing something to me. Right? That the world is trying to hurt me.
Now I can say, okay, and see with judgments, heartbreak is a very collapsed position. Judgment, you feel like you have a little bit more power.
A little bit more power,
right?
Yeah.
You have a little that anger and that passion starts coming when we give ourselves permission to judge. So it's almost like we have to go through these different stages to find our voice. Because judgment is where we start to find our voice.
Yeah.
We start to speak and say, that's wrong. I'm not going to accept that.
Our son, who's 14, going to 15, is finding his voice and saying, standing up and saying,
it's really funny to watch.
And you're like,
oh my goodness, Faizan. And my son has this really deep voice now. And he's taller than Faizan. And they just have this thing that happens. And sometimes Sajjad pushes back and you're just like, and you don't know how to respond because you've never seen that.
I've never allowed to have that voice, but allowing him to have that voice and allowing him to, like I tell him sometimes, Sajjad, once in a while you're gonna have these thoughts. My parents are idiots, and that's okay, because you're probably right. But watch the tone of the voice. You still have to work it out. But the part of the judgment really, we can't. A lot of people get stuck there because what that one thing that judgment allows you to do is not ever take responsibility. Mm-hmm. They're wrong. This thing is wrong. They're doing it wrong. Like
they should do it this way. If they just did that, everything would be better.
But I never have to look at me.
And the power is always with them.
Power is always with them, yeah.
Because they have to change for me to feel better.
Right. So on the dependent side, it's always about them, right? But to get to the independent side, and I think this is the beauty, is that we start taking control of our lives, right? Like now, I'm in charge. So we actually start on the independent side. There is more responsibility. There's more. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it my way now. Don't really care what's happening to the rest of the world. There's boundaries that are happening, and one of the things that we learned, like when we were looking at through the material again as we were building the video, is actually before control, there's these things called expectations. Mm-hmm. We start having expectations of other people, of ourselves, of like there are certain ways things get done, are supposed to get done, and I will do them that way, and that leads into control. But then control, when I'm fighting it with other people, will eventually lead into power struggle. And we'll go deeper. So there's a couple of areas that I want to go a little bit deeper into, power struggle being one. And the power struggle is when two people are really fighting it out, right? Like no, it's my way. And there's a lot of passion. There's a lot of juice in power struggle. But what power struggle doesn't allow us to do is this give and take. Mm-hmm. Everybody, you kind of get entrenched in doing it my way, and my way is the only way, and we're going to only do it my way. And the other person's kind of saying the same thing if you are kind of in that power struggle. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, can we make our picture big again? Like us.
All right.
You're seeing us in this tiny little corner. We can come back to this screen, right?
Yeah. So the past power struggle, because we were still talking through it, was the dead zone. Yeah. And the dead zone is kind of where in a relationship, whatever relationship, it's just like you don't have that bond. You don't feel like it. What's that? The terminology you use? They're like kind of two ships just passing each other in the middle of the night, right? Like we're just kind of just getting through life, but not really connecting. Mm-hmm. And a lot of relationships actually die out in this dead zone. Mm-hmm. Not because it's called a dead zone, but because like we feel like we've fallen out of love. We don't care for each other, whatever it might be. Or like at work, it's like, oh, this company doesn't really matter anymore, mm-hmm. right? Like I've just given up.
I'm just a robot.
I'm just a robot.
I'm going through the motions. That's what people will say. Yeah,
so stuff like that where it's like it feels dead, like that. There's that the bond is missing and that commitment is missing, and so the other side is kind of the bottom side is the interdependence where we're actually working together, and we didn't focus on the interdependence because that's like a whole month or 2 months on its own. The interdependence and how we kind of get through that. Where I wanted to focus today was on needs, right? Like the first part, because one of the things with the triangle is that it's not that I got through the dead zone, now I'm okay. No, we keep on, like Sarah and I keep on going through the needs and the heartbreak and the judgment. We keep on going through. We just go through it faster.
Chuck says it's kind of like, think of it as 3-dimensional, like it kind of moves this way. So as we evolve in our consciousness and in our understanding, we're kind of hitting the same spot but seeing it from a different vantage point. So you'll keep coming around, and there'll be some situations in our life where we're in needs, like maybe, say for example, for me, needs, maybe I'm in judgment, for example, with I don't know, my relationship with my daughter, but I might be in heartbreak with my relationship with my brother, or power struggle in my relationship with my neighbor, right? So what we can do is look at which is the relationship that we're farthest along in the triangle, and once any relationship is farther along, all the other ones can get there. So we ask ourselves, okay, what am I doing with my neighbor that I could be doing with my brother? So that's how I move along the triangle, kind of in that. So I think somebody's just saying goodbye. They said, this is a bit different than what I thought it would be. Wishing you all the best. You're welcome. Thanks for popping in.
So where I wanted to focus on was needs and why sometimes people get stuck in needs, even though they might be in control, but like there is a sense of needs not being met, right? And how do we kind of actually address that? Because a lot of us don't have, I think maybe it's generalized to say every one of us has experienced some need not being met by somebody else.
Chuck would say that's, if you've made it past like 1 year old, then likely you've had a need not met in your first early years, but also as adults, right? It happens all the time.
So if we look at that and we have needs that are not met, and a lot of us get into relationships or wanting to get into relationships because some need will be met then, right? Like my need like for being loved will be met. My need for being accepted will be met. Somebody will take...
My need for belonging, my need for being seen, my need for being valued.
And yet when we get into these relationships, we think, I mean, they start off well. Yeah. But then that need for belonging, that need for love is still there, and it's not fully being met because the other person doesn't do it the way I want, doesn't use the same words that I want them to use, right? When they want an affirmation, they want it done in a certain way, right? Like, so all of those things happen. So how do we actually move past that?
So we have to backtrack a little bit and think about that inside of the triangle, right? So once we're actually kind of in the interdependence and we're seeing our partner as equal to us and the same, we start going into the triangle, and that's more of a mystical journey. So what we love about this triangle is that it has kind of spiritual undertones in that we see relationship as the pathway to oneness with all. So this relationship helps me get closer spiritually, right? So who's actually going to fulfill all our needs? Not this human beside me, right? It's my creator. That's the only place, or however you understand that to be, whatever, as they say, the God of your understanding. So some people, it'll be some sort of a religious figurehead, like whatever, you know what I mean? That sacred presence, whatever that is to you, that's the only thing that's going to really fulfill all of our needs. Human beings cannot do that for us because human beings have their own shortcomings, their own agendas, their own insecurities, right? Their own needs. And so they just can't. And so knowing that it's natural to have needs, and also some of our needs are not from this particular moment in time, right? So I might have needs that from when I was 3 years old, that, before I even really had a sophisticated mind and could think, but there might be some longing that happened when I was 3 years old. And then suddenly I'm feeling that same longing, but I'm a grown up and it doesn't make sense to me, right? Why do I feel lonely? I have a partner, I have children, I have friends, I have a career that I enjoy, I'm interacting with people all the time. What's that loneliness? What's that about? Well, it's perhaps when I was 3 years old and my brother was about a year old by then, and he was probably a pretty interesting little guy, and I was 3 and not so, it could be as simple as that. It could be just as simple as that, is my mom looked at him rather than me when we both needed something. It could have been so simple, but in that moment, as in the child's mind, something happens and some story is made about my lovability or my brother's lovability or whatever it is. And it's before we're sophisticated in our thinking, but we just take that to be the truth.
Right.
That's the formation of our unconscious templates and patterns. Happens when we're really, really young.
Right. So to move past needs, and that's the other piece, is that a lot of us, we were talking earlier about, well, why don't we want to look at that deeper shadow within us? It's because when we start looking at needs, we're gonna go into heartbreak.
Right.
We're gonna have to acknowledge, oh, my mom couldn't meet my needs, and I don't want to disrespect her. I don't want to devalue what she did for me. All of those things, right? Like the things that kind of go in. It's like, but it's okay. You don't have to get stuck there. But a lot of us don't want to move to that level, right? But it's important. it's important that we move forward.
You get in touch with this really, really vulnerable, helpless part, right? The needs are held by that helpless child, that helpless baby.
Yeah.
Right? That's at the mercy of other people. That's where the needs start to develop. And that's a really uncomfortable thing to feel. Don't want to feel that.
All right. So what can be done, right? Like, so you feel it. Like, what does that mean? What does it mean to feel the need not met?
So, like, how do I say this? So, one of my, I don't know, I was thinking it was The Power of Now or something I was reading, and they talked about action and how often when we feel like restless, we want to take action and soothe that restlessness. But it's actually about sitting with it, right? That's the way through the need, is acknowledging that I have this need and feeling the discomfort of that need not being met. So it's like being present with how awkward that feels.
Right.
That's the way through. So on the dependent side of the triangle, the way through is you have to keep at it. You have to keep trying. You have to keep going. It's like climbing a mountain, right? You can't just sit down in the middle of climbing a mountain and be like, this is too hard. No, you got to keep going, man. The restaurant's at the top. The tea house, you got to get to the tea house at the top. Keep going, right? And it means that you're going to get tired and you're going to get frustrated. It's going to look like a really long journey. And Faizan, you've talked about this, where sometimes you have to just stop and look down and see, like, okay, I've come pretty far. Yeah, there's some place to go still, but I am moving in a direction.
Yeah. And I think part of addressing the need is, at some point, I believe, a realization happens that there's nobody else that can meet that need.
Right.
Not my mother, not my father, not my ancestors.
Not my partner.
Not my partner.
Not my children.
Not even God, sometimes, if you believe in that. And it's the idea that need to be loved. Especially, right, like these are some of the ones I feel are really keep on happening. Got to figure out how to turn this off. Sorry. There are certain needs of wanting to feel loved, wanting to belong, wanting to feel worthy.
Mm-hmm.
There's others as well, but like that, those three I think cover a lot. And the thing is, especially in the romantic relationship, Syra cannot make me feel worthy.
Mm-hmm.
She can tell me, and she does, all these great things that I supposedly do, and it still doesn't fill me up. Still doesn't make me feel worthy of her love. Go figure.
This afternoon, I was just like sitting there, just really appreciating my kids, just being like, they're amazing. And then I said, hey kids, and they're like, yeah, like, you're just great. And Sajad's like, okay. And Rabia's like, thank you.
It's like, is there a chore coming
like,
here?
What's happening? Like,
is there a chore coming?
No one else is gonna, right? It's like they've got to know that about themselves, how great they are. Like, it's nice to hear from your mom once in a while, but it's that
feeling has to come from it.
Cultivation has to happen internally.
And I think part of the same thing about worthiness, same thing about belonging, is that it's not about a certain place, right?
What do you mean?
It's like, oh, like, do I belong in this home or not? It's like, do I just belong? Right, wherever I go, can I just belong? And it has nothing to do with what anybody else is doing or saying or will do for me. It's a part of me that can kind of just show up and say, hey, I'm here.
So belonging, here's something that came up in Try and Chat, this idea of being claimed and claiming.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so some people are comfortable claiming others, but they're not comfortable being claimed. So I can have friends and I can make people feel like, they're really cared about, but for me to let my guard down and let someone claim me takes a lot more vulnerability. So belonging, it's one thing to help other people feel that sense of belonging, but if we're doing that and keeping our own wall up and not letting anybody claim us, this is the problem, right?
Beautiful.
So someone's saying, for me, a stepping stone to even feel the need is having compassion for my reactivity. Yeah. And not judging yourself for
Not
that.
judging, yeah.
Right? Like, oh, why am I getting
Yeah.
so upset? It's like, oh, interesting. I'm getting
And
upset.
I think a lot of us feel like we're adults. We shouldn't need these needs.
Which is,
We shouldn't have these needs.
I'm calling it. I think I said it in my TED Talk, the second one, about being social mammals. Like, I call bullshit. Because we were not independent. Like, we're social mammals. So we're designed to need each other.
Yeah.
Like, that's how our brains are designed. If you left a human with nobody else around, they go loco. They go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That's why solitary confinement is a punishment. We remove you from everybody else, and that's
Torture.
it's torture for people.
It's torture.
Right? So we actually do need connection, belonging, love. We are wired for that. And the more we have spaces where we can hit that, it actually impacts our physical health.
Yeah.
Like, it impacts our brain, it impacts our nervous system, it impacts our heart, our arteries, our fight or flight reflex. All of these things are impacted when we feel loved and belonging.
So it's this fine balance in a relationship that it's okay to feel wanted by your partner. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yet understanding and being compassionate that they might not be able to give it to us. Right? That you might not be able to fully make me feel wanted.
No, because that has to come from you.
Right.
Right.
But there's this dance, right? It's like there's this need in society that I want. Like if I have a partner, I want to be appreciated. I want to belong with them. Right? And they got to do their part.
Right.
But even if they're doing their part, it's not gonna fully meet our needs.
Right.
Because if I can't love myself, if I can't feel worthy myself, there's nothing anybody else can do. Like we were, again, I was speaking to this gentleman today, and like we were talking about like it's all the great things he does in community. And he's like, man, I still feel worthless. And everybody, like, you literally walk up to him and on the street.
Everybody
like,
knows this guy.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, thanks for pulling this together. Thanks for helping my kid. Thanks for doing that. Like, everybody's like just thanking him, and he's like still feeling worthless.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're actually unconsciously motivated to be indispensable to others, so that we can feel needed, so that we can feel worthy.
Right.
So to be careful, right? Sometimes our giving is coming from a place of need. Not from a place of real service.
Right.
So just to watch for that, right?
It's like, then they'll need me, right?
And then if they need me, then I matter. And they, like, I think you talk about that at work, right? Like making yourself, what's the word? Indispensable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure that you're the only one who can do this thing, because then they can't fire you, because then nobody would know how to. But that's problematic, because now you're a solo practitioner. Thumbs up. So thumbs up. I keep happening.
I know. We have to turn it off.
I like it.
One of these days,
Makes me feel happy, like the world is giving.
Yeah, except you're like, these people suck, and then you get a thumbs up, and it's like, oh yeah, they must really think. But yeah, no, I think that they're.
So it's problematic, right?
Why I wanted to spend time in needs today rather than everything else, and the other steps are important. It's not that they're not important. I feel like a lot of us bypass needs. I feel like a lot of us bypass this this acknowledgement that we have certain needs that are unmet.
Especially those living in independence, right?
Yeah.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's unconscious that they were unmet, and we're just not willing to acknowledge. The problem that happens is that if we're not willing to, what happens, at least for me, when I don't acknowledge it, is that I keep on ending back up there. Like I go up and I fall right back. Like I feel like I need it again. It's like I can't actually move past it, that I have certain needs.
And another way of thinking about this is to think about that young self, right? That young part inside that has needs. So the adult, this grown adult, rational, logical self, maybe doesn't. But that young self, that little one in you, needs attention, needs to feel valued, needs to feel validated. And unfortunately, nobody out there can give them what they need. Only my own soothing voice.
And so when we're talking about self-care, it's not just about, yes, go get a massage, go walk on the beach, or go walk in the snow, as it's about to happen here. Whatever it might be, do those things, but pay attention to the needs that are actually trying to be met there, right? It's that the idea of going and doing some self-care work is that I'm actually taking care of me.
Someone's saying
possibly for the first time.
So true, but that doesn't satisfy me. Like me time doesn't satisfy me. So
Right.
then the need might be a need for connection.
Right.
Right? And before we can connect with anybody out there, have I fully and deeply connected with all the parts of me and accepted and celebrated the parts of me, then it's a bonus to have someone else join in on that.
Right.
And it's a very different way than we're socialized, right? We're socialized. If you look at any, one of my teachers, Kelly Toby, he talks about how so many love songs are just about codependency. Right? He's like, he makes these lists, these music lists for workshops. He's like, I've left out all the ones that have to do with codependency, so there's only 3 on the list, right? Because we're socialized that other people should be able to make you feel better.
Yeah.
Right? If there's something wrong in the relationship, it's because they're not doing their part. Rather than if there might be things wrong in the relationship, they're doing everything that they have the capacity to do. What else could I be doing for you?
Yeah.
We don't think that way. We don't talk that way generally. And me time isn't just about, like, today I came home from work and I was feeling really needy, right? Really, really needy, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I figured out what I need is rest. That's what I need. And so rather than like herding the whole family to go watch a movie together, because that's what I would do, right? I need rest. So I just like curled up on the couch with a book and I read my book and snoozed a little bit, right? But generally I'm like, everybody needs to rest. It's like, no, they don't. I just need that.
Yeah.
Right? So someone's saying maybe we don't.
Jeez.
Wow.
Now what's happening here?
Now we got fireworks. That was awesome. Maybe we don't even have words to express very young needs. We have to learn to recognize in different ways, and words have to arrive.
Right.
Exactly, because most of those needs happen when we were pre-verbal. So we don't often have words, and we have to take a minute and like feel into it. Like, what is happening here? Why do I really want everyone to go watch a movie with me right now? What's that about?
I believe we've mentioned this in previous Monday Musings, but we'll mention it here. If you really want to get in touch with what you need, see where you judge other people's needs. Mm-hmm. Where you judge other people as being needy, there might be a clue there. Mm-hmm. Is that if I think Sarah is very clingy, then there's also a part of me that's like needing closeness and needing connection and wanting to be close, wanting to be held, but I just don't want to. I don't want to acknowledge it.
Right.
I don't know how to acknowledge that. I've been never taught how to acknowledge that. So I think I wanted to focus on that one section, needs, because a lot of us, I think, just ignore it, and we look at judgment and we look at heartbreak, but we never acknowledge what it is that I need. And if something's not working, hopefully we can continue digging down deeper and deeper. Like, oh, okay, I thought I needed this, but maybe I need something else. So what is it that I need? I think we have to do that work. Nobody else can tell us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're getting close to the end.
So in the chat, for those who are with us on Zoom, type in the one thing that you're going to take away from today's conversation. Or
if you watch us on Facebook or YouTube, please provide. Please add your comments.
Somebody's asking if I do grief counseling. I do not do grief counseling myself, but I do have someone who is a colleague of mine who that's her specialty. So if you're interested, I can send me an email and I can give you their contact information. I do have a person in my pocket, but I don't myself.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. We'll end the stream here for now.